As the service arm of the Theosophical Society, the Theosophical Order of Service shares, in the words of H.P. Blavatsky, the, quote, most holy and most important mission, close quote, of Theosophy, to unite firmly a body of men and women of all nations in brotherly love and bent on a pure, altruistic work, not on a labor with selfish motives. The TOS draws together like-minded people committed to respecting and serving the one life in all beings. Further, it encourages the establishment of personal rather than remote relationship with those in need. As suggested by H.P. Blavatsky in The Key to Theosophy, quote, the theosophical ideas of charity mean personal exertion for others, personal mercy and kindness, personal interest in the welfare of those who suffer, personal sympathy, forethought, and assistance in their troubles or needs. The twofold purpose of the TOS is the unselfish service of the needy and suffering, and the inner transformation of the server. In the TOS International Handbook, Roder Bernier wrote of the purpose of the TOS, saying, quote, the Theosophical Order of Service was founded by Dr. Annie Besant in 1908 so that the sum of pain in the world may be reduced, to some extent at least, and at the same time help its workers to learn through their service and the attention they pay to the quality of their work to purify the mind. The order of service has therefore a double purpose. From this point of view, it is not merely the doing of the work which is important, but the manner in which it is done and the purity of purpose behind it. Those who align themselves with the TOS are united in living the Theosophic life. A server sees the one life in all existence, from human beings, animals, birds, insects, plants, and minerals, to the earth itself. A true server knows that all are interconnected, interdependent, and ultimately one life. They serve others, as HPB said, with altruistic and unselfish motives. They are also committed to working on the personal transformation required to do so. I watched a documentary on Netflix recently entitled Fantastic Fungi, The Magic Beneath Us, a film by Louis Schwartzberg. The film talks about the role fungi, mushrooms, have played and are playing in the evolution of the earth and its creatures, including human beings. In it, we are told that, quote, evolution is based on the concept of mutual benefit and the extension of generosity, close quote. As I watched and listened, I couldn't help but compare this to our service work in the world, especially once we realize that we are all connected, that we share one life. It went on to say, quote, when we see it, we understand it. When we understand it, we care about it. And when we care about it, we'll do something to save it. Apparently, there is a hidden underground network the world over of fungi that connects us. It underlies all things, and it is absolutely necessary to our continued existence. The branches of this network resemble, it was said, the World Wide Web, and it is called by some the Wood Wide Web. It is everywhere, all over the world, giving nutrients to trees and other life forms, and, like Shiva, disintegrating and destroying decaying matter in order that it may be revived anew. Through this network, trees talk to each other, protecting young saplings and share nutrients. The mushroom network practices mutual benefit and the extension of generosity. In the film, we were told that, quote, we need to have a paradigm shift in our consciousness, close quote. And it asked, what will it take to achieve that? I think that living a theosophical life toward the goal of spiritual unfoldment will naturally and ultimately achieve such a shift in consciousness. If our service to others is done with a pure motive, as Radaji suggests, if we can see ourselves in others, we will realize that we are serving life itself, the one life that contains us all. The film ends with the following words, supposedly spoken by the Mushroom Network. These words can apply to us all. Quote, we are not an individual. We are a vast network of molecules and energies and wavelengths. The interconnectedness of being is who we are. This world of ours is always changing, not for the better or for the worse, but for life. If we act as a bodhisattva acts to benefit all, we can say, along with the Mushroom Network, quote, if the storms come and the water rises, if fire scorches the land or darkness descends, we will be here working, as we always have, extending the network, building community, restoring balance, one connection at a time. It may take 1,000,000 years or 100 million, but we will still be here. This is the inner side of service that is hidden from view, even from ourselves. We work for the self, with a capital S, that is within each of us, serving the highest in each small act. It often feels like our service has no effect, but those who know will persevere, even if it takes 1,000,000 years. We talk about brotherhood, sisterhood, human family, the brotherhood of humanity, as referenced in the first object of the TS. I wonder how many of us realize that there are levels of what this term refers to that correspond with our levels of consciousness. On the physical level is humanitarian aid. This service consists of offering food, clothing, shelter, and other necessities of life to those who need them, and is done by TOS members as well as many other humanitarian groups. We write a check, perhaps volunteer at a soup kitchen once a year on a holiday. We do our duty to help those less fortunate than us, as we have perhaps been taught as children. These values were cultivated in Annie Besant herself by her childhood teacher. The TOS International Handbook contains an article entitled In the Service of Life, written by Rachel Naomi Raymond for the Noetic Sciences Review, spring 1996. In it, Ms. Raymond compares helping and fixing with serving. She says that helping is based on inequality, that we see the other person as lesser than or not as strong as ourselves. This person is therefore not seen as our equal. Fixing implies that something is broken, and we use our expertise and mastery to fix it or them. She says, quote, I think I would go so far as to say that fixing and helping may often be the work of the ego, and service the work of the soul. She goes on to say that, quote, service rests on the basic premise that the nature of life is sacred, that life is a holy mystery which has an unknown purpose. Fundamentally, helping, fixing, and service are ways of seeing life. When you help, you see life as weak. When you fix, you see life as broken. When you serve, you see life as whole. From the perspective of service, we are all connected. All suffering is like my suffering, and all joy like my joy. The impulse to serve emerges naturally and inevitably from this way of seeing. Close quote. Entry Ram, although he does use the words help and helper, put it this way, quote, we have to learn to give with our hearts. When we help from the very soul of ourselves, there can be no consciousness of a helper separate from the one who is being helped. In India, people greet each other with hands held as if in prayer, saying Namaste, or Namaskar, or Satnam. In this way, we acknowledge and pay homage to the spiritual being within, the highest within each of us. When we do this, and even in the Western world when we shake hands, we need to think about this and know that we are communicating with, doing business with, serving a spiritual being. We need to realize that we are looking in a mirror, whatever station in life that being inhabits. They are not lesser than us, but rather they are us, because we are all one life. Life is sacred. Life is holy. Life is one. As we progress along the path of spiritual transformation, or unfoldment, as HBB called it, we begin to see more and more clearly what brotherhood really is. Are we our brother's keeper? If we limit ourselves to the physical level of humanitarian service, it may seem that way. HPB said that brotherhood is the law of life. When we can look at another and see ourselves, that their suffering is my suffering, and their joy is my joy, then we understand what service really is. We understand that we don't just serve another, we are that other, our brother, our sister, our sibling, that we are serving ourselves. Through this realization, we unconsciously grow with every act of service. In the quote from Radha that was referenced earlier, referring to service, she said that what is important is the manner in which it is done and the purity of purpose behind it. In another article, Theosophy and the Theosophical Society, she says, quote, the full meaning of purity in thought, word, and deed may, in fact, dawn on a person only after years of attentive living and of full awareness that we are continually influencing the world, benefiting or harming it by the purity or impurity of the vibrations going forth from every part of us. The members of the Theosophical Order of Service and TS members who engage in service, work, embody a network of love and compassion that encircles the world. Into that network, we pour our energy, a generous force for the mutual benefit of all life. Annie Besant said, as service becomes our habitual attitude to everyone whom we meet, we shall gradually find that everyone is profoundly interesting and that the giving of service is the greatest joy in life. Thank you.